Le FMI comme modèle ou comme embryon d'une gouvernance mondiale?
Non, le G20 comme embryon de la gouvernance mondiale, le FMI comme moteur de ce G20. Ce qui est la grande force du FMI, et c'est pour ça qu'il obtient la place aujourd'hui dont le monde a besoin, c'est l'indépendance des milliers d'économistes qui travaillent au FMI, qui travaillent de façon collective, ils ne sont pas tout seuls, on ne peut pas écrire des choses parce que ça vous passe par la tête. Il y a des procédures de révision de ce qui est écrit par les pairs, mais à l'arrivée, l'indépendance des chercheurs du FMI est garantie par le traité, et c'est justement ce qui fait la force. Comme disait Keynes lorsque le FMI a été créé en 1944, c'est la puissance de dire la vérité. C'est ça l'arme du FMI.
The Independence and Democracy Group has tried to be helpful, positive and constructive right through this parliamentary term. Yes, because we've been providing the voice of opposition, and in a democracy opposition is essential, it is vital. But sadly, as President Václav Klaus pointed out when he came here, you don't actually think there should be any alternative view, and as a result of that your presidency has been marked by your deeply prejudicial manner in the way in which you've treated members of this House that have stood up and opposed the Constitution / Lisbon Treaty. And the defining moment for me in this House was we had the French say no, we had the Dutch say no, and then we had the Irish say no, and this Parliament has wilfully carried on ignoring the wishes of the people. You just don't get it, do you? No means no. And it's truly incredible that 499 members of this House voted to ignore the Irish no vote and to continue with the treaty. What kind of a parliament is this? If you believed in democracy, you would not just bulldoze aside those 3 referendum results. And worse still, you are now so fearful of public opinion, you know that you're losing the argument, that you've sunk to abuse. I've had Mr Watson saying that I behave like an English football hooligan, when all I did was to gently point out that Commissioner Barrot is a convicted embezzler. Gary Titley said that I was a paranoid reactionary, living on the fringes of society. Well, I mean, he may have a point, I don't know. But Danny Cohn-Bendit, that great champion of free speech, said that opponents of the treaty were mentally ill. And Martin Schulz, the leader of the Socialists, saying after one of the no votes, we must not bow to populism, and that the no votes open the door to fascism. Well, I hope in the next 4 weeks in this campaign the voters of Europe can see the real face of this project. You are nationalistic, you are bullying, you are threatening, you are anti-democratic, you're a complete shower.
Sur le long terme, il y a ce que vient de dire Youssef Bouteflika, c'est-à-dire il faut que la gouvernance mondiale, c'est un mot un peu barbare la gouvernance, ça veut dire quoi? Ça veut dire la façon dont on organise le monde. Plus on va dans la mondialisation, plus il faut des structures pour organiser le monde. C'est le pile et face de la même pièce. On ne peut pas dire que le monde est de plus en plus mondialisé et qu'on va continuer à trouver des solutions nationales. Il faut des solutions globales. Les solutions globales, ça suppose que la gouvernance des institutions comme le FMI soit plus légitime, plus démocratique, qu'il y ait plus de place pour les pays émergents et pour les pays pauvres. Et donc ça veut dire en clair, en contrepartie, qu'il faut que les pays riches laissent de la place. Cette réforme de la gouvernance-là, elle est absolument essentielle si on veut éviter de retomber dans le vieux monde. Le monde d'après, c'est un monde qui peut être différent si effectivement le pouvoir dans cette gouvernance, dans l'organisation économique et financière du monde, est différemment réparti. Ça, c'est pas un combat qu'on va gagner en 2 heures, hein.
Mieux vaut, d'un point de vue scientifique, avoir approximativement raison maintenant et prendre les mesures nécessaires, plutôt que totalement raison trop tard. Donc, dans le cas de l'effet de serre ou dans le cas de la démographie, il y a certaines mesures. Pour l'effet de serre, c'est très simple. Vous savez qu'on dit parfois, c'est un exemple très frappant, comme disait M. Valin, il faut partager les ressources. La plus grande catastrophe écolo qu'il pourrait y avoir maintenant, c'est que tous les Chinois aient une mobilette. Ça va vous augmenter l'effet de serre de moitié d'un seul coup. Or, nous, on a des bagnoles. bah, il faudra partager. Peut-être que nous, on prend un peu de mobilette et puis...
Imagine la catastrophe si tous les Chinois avaient des bagnoles.
Ça serait pire. Par conséquent, donc, il y a un principe de partage et on peut dire de modération dans notre consommation, en particulier en ce qui concerne les énergies fossiles, quoi. Un peu moins de pétrole, un peu moins de gaz, un peu moins de charbon. On peut faire autrement avec les énergies renouvelables, l'énergie solaire, etc. C'est la même chose pour la démographie. Je crois qu'on a indiqué tout à l'heure quelques pistes comme l'éducation des petites filles dans le tiers-monde. Voilà des pistes qui doivent être prises à un niveau, en effet, intergouvernemental, voire international. C'est pour ça que toute mesure de renforcement à la fois du pouvoir, mais aussi de la démocratie de l'ONU, est également quelque chose qui va dans le bon sens.
Alors, vous voyez, Jimmy Gueux, le gouvernement mondial, c'est pas toujours mauvais, hein.
Ah, mais j'ai jamais prétendu que c'était mauvais. C'est l'usage que l'on va en faire et la façon de le structurer. Moi, ce qui m'inquiète, c'est monsieur le géologue.
Oui, appelez-moi comme ça.
Voilà. Oui, si on avait les petits papiers, on serait qui est qui. A parlé tout à l'heure prudemment du fait qu'on pourrait changer évidemment les voitures avec un autre procédé. Monsieur a fait allusion au fait qu'on pourrait rouler à mobilette, c'est vrai. J'ai parlé de la trilatérale Bilderberg CFR. Qui croyez-vous qu'il y a derrière? Un méga trust planétaire du pétrole, dont le patron est Rockefeller. On le sait parfaitement. Et Rockefeller. On le sait parfaitement.
You have the charisma of a damp rag and the appearance of a low-grade bank clerk. And the question that I want to ask, that we're all going to ask is, who are you? I'd never heard of you. Nobody in Europe had ever heard of you. I would like to ask you, President, who voted for you? And what mechanism? Oh, I know democracy is not popular with you lot. And what mechanism do the peoples of Europe have to remove you? Is this European democracy? Well, I sense, though, that you're competent and capable and dangerous, and I have no doubt that it's your intention to be the quiet assassin of European democracy and of the European nation states. You appear to have a loathing for the very concept of the existence of nation states. Perhaps that's because you come from Belgium, which of course is pretty much a non-country. But since you took over, we've seen Greece reduced to nothing more than a protectorate. Sir, you have no legitimacy in this job at all, and I can say with confidence that I can speak on behalf of the majority of the British people in saying we don't know you, we don't want you, and the sooner you're put out to grass.
Europe for Freedom and Democracy. Next, President Nigel Farage.
We're in the presence of a great man today, the President of Europe, a man who is so important, he is beyond criticism, beyond reproach, he is the king of the modern political class, he is the modern-day Zeus, and he intends to rule us from Mount Berlaymont, and woe betide anybody that questions his authority or questions his dignity, or they will face severe punishment. Indeed, in my case, the last time we met, and I had one or two things to say, the Parliament imposed the maximum possible fine. And I'm told that if I say anything that upsets you, the microphone will be cut off. Well, what price free speech? What price democracy? But you've come back to us today, and now with the approval of Mr Sarkozy and Angela Merkel, you're the head of a new economic government for 500 million people. And you've launched your 10-year plan, your wish list, and I just wonder, have you remembered what happened to the last 10-year plan that was launched in 2000? It was launched in this Parliament to much acclaim. It was a total and utter crippling failure even before the global recession hit. And in fact, all centralised EU plans fail. Just look at the disastrous, ruinous common fisheries policy. And now your beloved euro has failed. It's failed politically at its first major hurdle. You weren't able to come up with a plan at that summit. You can't bail out Greece without the International Monetary Fund coming in to save, at least for the moment, your euro dream. And yet, Mr Van Rompuy, your plan seems to be, we're losing, we're failing, let's have more of the same. Let's have more Europe, let's have more failure. But what really matters is the loss of democracy here. You have not been elected. You are not accountable. There is no mechanism for the peoples of Europe to remove you. It was Zeus, of course, that kidnapped Europa. My fear is you are kidnapping our democracy. You are only here because that Lisbon Treaty went through without the British people being given the referendum that they were promised. And as far as we're concerned, this is unfinished business. People fought and died so that we could be an independent, self-governing, democratic nation that was able to hire and fire its leaders, and no one that believes in democracy will accept the post of President of the European Union. Thank you.
La questione delle nomine, molto importante. Oggi c'è sulle agenzie c'è un corollario di voci, di riunioni, non si sa nemmeno se dovrà esserci una riunione straordinaria a Bruxelles. Ma io mi domando una cosa, esaminando i nomi che circolano. Per esempio, mi limito a 3, Balkenende, Miliband e Van Rompuy. Ma è mai possibile che nessuno abbia osservato che tutte e 3 sono frequentatori delle riunioni vuoi del Bilderberg, vuoi della trilaterale? Beh, io credo che si debbano stabilire dei principi di trasparenza, tanto sovente indicati a parole dalle nostre istituzioni, e si debba chiedere con chiarezza a queste persone se sono i candidati del loro paese nelle forze politiche o di questi gruppi occulti che si riuniscono a porte chiuse e decidono sulla pelle e sulla testa dei popoli.